Hello and welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Liz, a Disability Policy for All. I'm really excited to be talking to Dan Habib, who is a film director at the Institute on Disability at the University of New Hampshire. So welcome, Dan.
Thank you, Liz. Thanks so much for having me. It's an honor.
I understand your upcoming film is about intelligence. And what does intelligence mean?
Wow, it's a big question and kind of a different question that different people would answer in different ways. You know, I started this film, which is called Intelligent Lives, because somebody really challenged me to explore the whole issue of intelligence years ago. A guy named Doug Bicklin, who is the Dean of Education at Syracuse, said, you know, Dan, you've made all these films, including Samuel and Who Cares About Kelsey, that have looked at people with different kinds of disabilities. But until we help people see intelligence in a very different way, people with disabilities will continue to have roadblocks towards employment, towards education, and relationships. He said, you know, I challenge you to kind of take a new look at intelligence. And so what I started to do was do a lot of research around how we started defining intelligence through IQ scores and other measures. And then I started finding people who were showing their intelligence in really different ways, through art, through social communication, through their ability to work really hard or whatever it might be. And I found 3 different people for this film that show intelligence in ways that really can't be measured. Micah Fialka-Feldman, Nair Shahid, and Naomi Montplaisir. So the film really follows these 3 people as they show their abilities and their intelligence and their capacity in really amazing ways, and all of whom have disabilities.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. The next question is, what type of intelligence does IQ testing miss?
My son Samuel did go through both a couple of different assessments. One would be considered kind of like an IQ test or a cognitive assessment, but we told the people right from the beginning, I don't want any numbers. I just want to understand where Samuel has some challenges in learning and where he has strengths. And I found the test to be very not a good representation of Samuel's abilities. They were pointing to different shapes and trying to see if he was understanding certain words. But if you have significant physical challenges or verbal challenges, I think it's very hard for those tests to measure anything, you know, accurately, at least from my experience. Whereas somebody like Nair, who's in my film, who's a high school senior, a beautiful artist, can his intelligence be measured by an intelligence test? I don't think so. Or someone like our mutual friend, Micah Fialka-Feldman, who's a college student at Syracuse University, has a really vibrant social life, is working at the school, is teaching. He was given an IQ of 40, which would have been called, you know, profoundly intellectually disabled. And here he has this very full life. So, you know, what does the intelligence test really measure? I understand the importance of kind of standardized testing to kind of create eligibility for services, but I think it also has a flip side that can be very damaging. It can label somebody with this number that stays with them their whole life and can really affect other people's expectations for them. And that's very, very dangerous.
Why is it dangerous?
Well, I think anytime someone has low expectations for them, they're not being given opportunities like to be included in regular education in schools. They may not have a pathway to college. They may not be seen as someone who can work. They may not be seen as someone who could be in a relationship. So I think that anytime you assign someone a number that suggests that they may not be capable, the expectations for those people go down. The supports for those people may not be as available. And I think just the whole attitude of society becomes these people are not worth an investment of our time and energy. And that's very dangerous.
Thank you. The last question is, why do you think many professionals think it's important to have IQ for people, given what you just said?
Right. We haven't developed many better systems. There is an assessment called the Support Intensity Scale that's being used around the country quite a bit that AAID helped develop, and Mike Waymeyer, who's a consultant on the project, helped develop. And that we did that with Samuel as well, because that's how in New Hampshire they helped determine what type of adult services that you're going to be eligible for. And I actually found that to be a very effective process where they really looked at Samuel's support needs as a whole person in every aspect of his life. And that one felt a lot more relevant than the IQ test. But I think the fact is that in many states around the country, the IQ test has become the go-to assessment to determine, you know, maybe whether a student should be in a general education classroom or not, whether they, you know, or are eligible for services or not, even whether they would be eligible for the death penalty or not if they committed a crime. And so I think until we start to move our society towards different types of ways of seeing intelligence, different ways of types of creating eligibility for services like the support intensity scale, the IQ test is kind of the go-to tool. And I think people like to, unfortunately, assign numbers. They like to have a numeric, quantification for this is where this person is at. And I also think that's a really dangerous approach to humanity. I think no human should be reduced to a number. And unfortunately, I know the IQ test isn't intended to do that, but in speaking with families all over the country, that's what it feels like. It feels like their child or their brother or their sister has been given this number that becomes a big part of their identity. And that can be very destructive.
Thank you. For our audience, what is the AIDD?
The American Association on Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities. They're one of the partners on this film project that we have about 30 national outreach partners. And when the film comes out in spring 2018, we're going to be working with these partners to get the word out. AUCD is certainly another partner, so we'll be talking to you more about it. And we're also putting together 4 short films on post-secondary transition, just showing all over the country what are seen as the most promising practices for helping students with disabilities transition from high school into college and career. So as long as people go to the Intelligent Lives Facebook page or our website, intelligentlives.org, they'll be able to learn all these things that are happening around the film, when they're being released, when they're going to be available. So I'm really excited to get that to you, Liz, to show you the new film soon, and to all of your listeners.
And thank you, Dan, for taking the time to talk with us today. See you next week.